Welcome to another episode of Beyond Tomorrow. Andrew Nida, Moise Param here at Asset Management Group. So glad you guys are joining us on the show. We've been talking about, a lot of great content regarding real estate.
We have been, yes.
But before we jump in, you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's a great week here in Georgia, here in Atlanta. And I'm getting ready, and you're getting ready too, for our spring break trip to Florida Keys.
Oh man, that's not gonna be bad.
Yeah,
that's not gonna be bad. Other than the drive.
Yeah, I was mapping it out yesterday, and for weeks I've been anticipating preparing for a 14-hour drive.
Yeah,
but when
you're
you
just
see
not
the
used
number,
to it.
no, 6 hours is like my jam. I can do 6 hours, no
That's
problem.
it.
But you're talking about doubling that.
You know,
and
though,
more.
here's the difference, though. When you're raised in New York, driving anywhere seems like a lot. When you're raised the way I was raised, in a station wagon, a two-door Monte Carlo,
Yeah.
going 2,000 miles across the country all the time, So it's okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
I actually will never forget my dad. I mean, this is absurd. I would never even attempt it. A two-door Monte Carlo, 5 people.
Oh my gosh.
I'm jammed in the front seat, 3 sisters in the back seat.
That's insane.
Headed out to Colorado.
That's
for Christmas with Christmas gifts in the back. Are you
How?
kidding me? I'm like, man, this guy was bold. But we did it, That was the way it was.
Hey, it's making memories, making new memories with the family.
I prefer the old school station wagon, with the beaver paneling around the side.
Oh, yeah.
And then the back seat that looked backwards.
That you look backwards, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, that's
Yeah, my uncle
legit.
had one of those.
You could sleep back there, nobody mess with you.
Yeah. Good old 80s.
Good stuff. Yeah, good 80s. But yeah, man, we've been covering a lot about real estate on the show, and really the concept here in general with Beyond Tomorrow is just to motivate people today.
Yes.
Really in regards to what they want to have happen in the future. There's a lot to that, creating those disciplines now, and real estate is just one of those areas that maybe seems intimidating to a lot of people, but a lot of individuals have the same goal. They want to be able to retire. They want to have passive income. They're looking to diversify outside of their investment strategies currently, which is market-based investments or 401ks or IRAs.
Right.
So real estate is a great source for that, and we've really walked through, a lot of different things over the last few weeks. And just, hey, for you guys, make sure you take time to subscribe to the show, but then also go back and watch those 2 videos from the last 2 weeks. We covered, in general, why investing in real estate, and then we also covered long-term rentals as an option, just how to analyze, how to think through it. But with that said, before we jump in, we got to talk a little bit about markets, being that we are Asset Management Group. You want to hit kind of a recap of last week?
Yeah, last week we saw a tremendous week in the market, actually the best week of the year. S&P was up 2%, NASDAQ almost 3%, and we saw and we heard actually the Feds talk about where they see Fed interest rates going for this year. And Jerome Powell basically said that he's anticipating 3 cuts this year, which kind of made the market feel a little enthusiastic about that, because he didn't say that there weren't going to be any cuts. He's anticipating any cuts. And they even forecasted where they saw unemployment, where they saw the labor force, where they saw interest rates. And so the market last week really participated in a great way. But, overall, we've had a great year to begin this year in 2024. First quarter, assuming nothing dramatic changes this week, we should be seeing the best quarter. The best first quarter we've seen since 2019, I believe.
That's right.
So the market just was resilient last week, and it was great, great for all our investors.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, with Powell coming out and speaking last week and just kind of not giving a very clear indication, but not like putting the hammer down and saying, hey, we're not cutting at all this year.
That's right.
Very optimistic. We closed out last week being the best week of the year. In the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. So, yeah, and here we are at the verge of finishing and wrapping up, like you said, the best quarter start to a year since 2019. So, it's been, and this, we know this, our clients know this, what a rocky road over the past 4 or 5 years, ever since, really probably Brexit, and then 2018 and 2020 with COVID, and then 2022, one of the worst starts to the year since the Great Depression.
Right.
And here we are, flip the narrative, and it's been a good start. So, one little nugget to take away from that statement from last week is you got to be mindful, and you got to be consistent, and you got to trust your investment strategy.
Yes.
That is so important. If you don't trust it, you're not going to be able to stick to it. And if you can't stick to it, you're going to lose 100%. You know, I know everybody out there, you're probably sick of investment advisors saying, hey, just stay invested, stay invested, stay invested. But the reality is you're never going to guess it right. You're never going to guess when to get out right, and you're never going to guess again when to get back in. So what we've seen over the past several years is just a motivating factor to stick to the disciplines of investing.
Yes.
Just like everything else in your life. Another big note last week, March Madness.
March Madness started.
March Madness. First week of March Madness. Mo, there was 22 million brackets submitted to ESPN. All right, 22 million.
Wow.
Not a single one. Not a single one got it right.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, if you think about the stats to actually get a perfect bracket, right? I think it's like 1 in 9 quintillion, right? I mean,
Whatever that means,
right? So the actual, if anyone actually had a perfect bracket for all the rounds, I mean, I'd be completely shocked. I mean, but yeah, I didn't do a bracket this year. I haven't really been paying attention to college basketball. I'm more of a college football fan, but I know that the anticipation of March Madness has been building up for a while, and we're actually seeing numbers where employers are expecting to lose some of their productivity because of the attention that their employees are having on March Madness, whether it is filling out the brackets, checking the scores, talking to their friends about the games, or even actually watching the games. I think it's like $17 billion of loss of production that's going to happen between March Madness.
Yeah, so let us go ahead and put it out there. Any employees for Asset Management Group, you know, we're on you.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Like, we're watching.
I'm watching.
You know?
I'm like a hawk. I'm like a hawk right now.
$17 billion, no way. We're not missing out on that type
I'm
of
not missing
$17. Yeah, right. But isn't that crazy, though? 22 million brackets, not a single one is still standing.
Yes.
Like, that's pretty motivating for me. You know, if I'm going to bet, I want to bet in an area where everybody else is going to fail too. So I don't feel so bad. I'm like, okay, not a big deal. But hey, check out this, though. 9,000, I believe this is the number, 9,000 of individuals that submitted brackets didn't even get a single game right.
Are you serious?
Not a single one. It's
Wow,
like
I didn't know
almost
that.
close to 10,000. Not a single game, you know, which might have been the one I submitted.
Yeah, you have to reevaluate your choices at that point. Like, you didn't get one.
Yeah, your whole process.
Yeah, your whole
broke.
process was wrong.
I mean, from start to finish.
Not
You're
one
broke.
game.
Oh man, not rolling dice on you, my friend. But anyway, so okay. Into real estate, probably why most people is watching the show,
Yes.
especially the series that we've been in. Kind of a quick recap. So, you know, we started 2 weeks ago with just this general concept of why real estate, okay? And is now a good time to even consider investing in real estate. You know, I think about the average investor, and I'm a lot, you know, we're just like everybody else, preaching to the choir. It's hard to make an investment in real estate right now because just like the markets, everything is super high. Mortgage rates are high,
Right.
especially as an investment property. It's significantly expensive to finance, and it seems hard to buy a good deal. So you got to be mindful if you're going into real estate. But you and I both made the statement here at our firm. We also respect the fact that investors find ways to invest.
Yes.
And so it is you do need to be motivated on what you're trying to do with a property if you're going to get into real estate investing. Now, why would you get into real estate investing, Mo? It's because it's one of the best cash flow producing investments one can own. Okay?
It is.
And you and I both know this. In our firm, we work with a lot of retirees, and a lot of retirees are living well in retirement because of their decisions years ago
Right.
to invest in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the whole thesis of Beyond Tomorrow, right? Making the decisions at some point for your future self. And so getting into real estate can be a game of waiting, a game of patience, right? Whether you have to be patient for interest rates to hit a certain level, and at that point you can refinance. Be patient for the equity in the house to build up, equity in the property to build up. So essentially, or potentially, you can take like a HELOC and purchase another property. The patience to see the consistent cash flow over time. So real estate investing, the patience that it gets to, that you can benefit from it, will benefit you down the road. But yeah, real estate investing has been on top of a lot of people's mind, and a lot of it has to do with the market. Well, some of it has to do with the market itself, right? If you look at especially the rental space, right? In 2022, make sure I got these numbers right. There were almost 44 million households that were renting homes in 2022, and that number jumped to crossed over the 44 million mark in 23. So there is a big market for rental properties. Now the question is investing in real estate or investing in rentals the ideal strategy for you?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest question you have to ask yourself.
Yes.
You got to look in the mirror and you got to say, okay, do I want to invest in real estate? Why do I want to invest in real estate? And how is it going to work for me in my future? Because oftentimes, especially the subject matter today with short-term rentals, it's a business.
It is.
And you need to consider it and look at it like a business. Now, there's a lot of rewards that come with it. But nonetheless, from an operational standpoint, you have to have a business mindset to make sure you're just not, getting yourself in a poor deal, and make sure you have the time to devote to it. So real estate is just something you really need to ask yourself, what season of life am I in? What am I looking for this real estate property to produce for me now and later? And then you can begin to narrow down, okay, do I want to invest in real estate? That why is huge. But to your point, there's a lot of people renting, 43 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And the numbers even become a little bit more attractive when it comes to short-term rentals.
Yes.
Okay. So short-term rentals, Mo, is a $60+ billion revenue producing industry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
It's 64 billion, isn't that right?
64 billion. That's right.
So okay.
In 2023.
Okay. So we're talking short-term rentals today. 64 billion. Why consider short-term rentals? Because it's a $64 billion industry. Maybe that's why you should consider it. A lot of people are vacating. I do this. There's a lot of people that do this, and they're using Airbnbs, they're using VRBOs as a way of traveling. And so sometimes I feel like, okay, maybe the market's a little bit, consumed with the average investor that's trying to just own a vacation home and turn it into a Airbnb or something like that. But it's a good industry to consider.
Yeah. I mean, like I would say most people that I've spoken with when they get into short-term rentals, the first thing they consider is, okay, can I turn a vacation home that I personally own or would want to own, and maybe on those seasons or those weeks or months that I'm not actually physically at the location, can I leverage that property and maybe turn that into a short-term rental, right? I'd say that's probably the most elementary way to enter into that short-term rental space, because you're not looking at it as a business, right? You have one property, and during those off seasons, you're just trying to rent it out.
But I think that's a good way of doing it, though, because you're obviously buying in a market that you probably know, and enjoy for personal use, because that's where you travel.
And I think that's a good starting point, right? Because if you put yourself in the eyes of a traveler, what are places that are actually attractive to go to? What are places that you see a lot of tourists or a lot of tourist attractions or things that would gravitate a good population to just go over time? That makes it very attractive. Mm-hmm. So as you're getting into, or you're thinking about short-term rental, I'd say that's one thing you really want to consider is, okay, if I'm not going to use it as my own vacation property or in addition to just a vacation property, are there attractions, are there things that are really gravitating people towards that area? And if that's the case, then you know that there is a built-in kind of economy there that can make your property look more attractive.
And when you're looking at a short-term rental too, Mo, and you're kind of glancing at the market, that's a great way to start, is maybe an area that you enjoy. But you can even do it really in your own residence, in your own town and community, or even, within an hour of your normal community. As an example, we live here in Cartersville. Well, there's Airbnbs right here in Cartersville. Yeah. You can travel an hour and a half up to Jasper, Ellijay, Blue Ridge, Blairsville, and in Chattanooga. You're going to run into short-term rentals there too. So, I kind of think, start simple.
Yeah.
If it's something you're interested in, buy a property that you can get to easily, and you can access, but then also buy an area that you kind of know. Okay, give yourself a fighting advantage, and find an area that you're comfortable with.
And also being close to the property helps with maybe lowering costs for like property management. You can always go go there, more occasionally to make sure that everything is all fine with the property itself versus having to fly 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to get to the property, right? So there is a logistical advantage of being able to get to the property within a, not a 12-hour drive like to the Keys,
right?
But,
right.
like a 2-3 hour drive at most from your residence.
That's right. So if let's say though you're the individual who really wants to launch the short-term rental business model, okay? And you own maybe real estate already. Maybe you've done a short-term rental already. You've kind of gotten your feet wet. You have the cash flow. Maybe it's a result of your W-2, your 1099. You have the ability to go out there and shop the market. And you're kind of at a place where you're starting with a clean slate. I can go anywhere. One of the things that comes to mind, as at least from property that we've purchased in the past, is seasonality.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, popularity, you mentioned, but also seasonality.
Yes.
So seasonality is, what type of experience are you going to be able to offer within normal seasons and weather? Obviously, if I'm looking for a property to generate more consistent cash flow than the average short-term rental, well, I better purchase in an area where seasonality is not going to overweigh and reduce the tenancy during certain seasons. As an example, look at like the Panhandle of Florida. Very attractive area, high competition. May be interested to purchase property here, but I should have an expectation that wintertime is going to have a massive valley from a cash flow standpoint. In place of that, maybe go further south. You look at like south of Tampa. Okay, now you're buying property where,
weather's consistent.
Weather's consistent. You're closer to the equator. It's nice. You got your snowbirds coming down. Maybe they're going to capture instead of just a 7-day week during the wintertime, you may be able to capture that long-term 1 month, 2 month snowbird coming down from up north. So seasonality matters.
Yeah.
Another great one's like going to the mountains in Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, which is not too far from here in Cartersville. But Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area. I mean, no matter whether it's the summer, fall, winter, I mean, there's things to do there, and it's always a crowded place to go. I mean, when we go at least we actually tend to go there like once a year. We go to that area, and it's always busy. Right. Mm-hmm. So you can have during the winter, you can lock yourself up in the cabin and enjoy that experience. And in the summer and in the fall, you have Dolly Parton, Stampede. You've got the entire strip in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg.
I can promise you I ain't buying there. That place is a money pit, Mo.
Which is what you want.
We're supposed to be giving people quality advice. You can't be traveling to Pigeon Forge. Man, that place costs you more than going overseas.
Listen. But think about it. There's a lot of people there, and if you're looking for seasonality, if you're thinking that seasonality is going to be an issue, then you can have a place like Pigeon Forge where it seems to be a consistent flow of traffic in that area.
And once again, it goes back to your original goals. Seasonality is not a bad thing.
No.
Right? So
it's
obviously
expectations, understanding
it's expectations, yeah. And it comes back to a business model, managing cash flow, managing outflow, and all that stuff. But seasonality is not something you should avoid. It's just something you should consider when you're narrowing down that area. Let's say though let's say you guys have done the homework, you're ready to deploy. You found like your region, if you will, that you want to purchase your short-term rental property in. The next thing that kind of comes to mind is policy.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but you definitely need to be aware of policy in, certain city districts, counties, communities, HOAs, because policy could be very problematic.
Yes.
If you don't check. I just think what a nightmare it would be, Mo, if you purchased a property, you started a remodel, which is, obviously if that's the type of property you're getting, that's a very expensive upfront expense. You put thousands of dollars into the property, you bring it up to pace, and then all of a sudden you put it on the market, and the old city gentleman walks up, knocks on your door, and says, "Hey, where's your permit?" And he's like, "You don't have a permit because we don't offer permits. You can't do a short-term rental here." Not good.
Yeah, and they've been watching you build this and just laughing, just waiting for you to complete the project.
We appreciate the front view of your house and how much nicer it is, but you can't rent it.
Yeah, no. So we talked about that 44 million that I mentioned about the rental houses. Those are typically your long-term rentals. So it's already baked into society that there are going to be rentals, and long-term rentals are just kind of they've already been indoctrinated into our system. But short-term rentals are different. Right. So not every city, not every county allows you to have short-term rentals. And so if you're not up to date with the regulations, whether it's the permits, the cost of the permits, how do you lose your permits, the number of permits you can actually have. Right. You may be able to have one, but then if that property seems to be very advantageous to you, and you're actually becoming very profitable, you may want to try to do it and repeat the process over again.
Right.
But you may only have 1 or 2 permits. That's it. And so if you're thinking about trying to build this portfolio in a concentrated area, you may not be able to. So understanding the regulations and the policies in that city or that county that you're looking to start your short-term rental properties in, is you have to know it.
Yeah,
because if
do.
you don't, you might be. Again, it goes back to the expectations. You have to understand what the regulations are.
Well, and it's like anything else. Just pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes, slow down. There's never a deal today that you got to have today. Okay? So slow down. I am preaching to myself 100%. Okay?
It's a process.
It is a process.
It's a process.
And you got to do your research because these are major investments that affect the long-term value of your estate, ultimately affecting the life you want to live. So you do need to slow down. You do need to make sure it's the right area. You need to be mindful of purchasing ahead of growth. So you find the community, you find the locale that you're looking to purchase in. They do offer permits. You are able to run a short-term rental business there. But then you're thinking, okay, am I ahead of growth here? I give you an example. This is a personal example right now, but we have recently purchased a property in historic St. Andrews. Now, historic St. Andrews, up and coming. If you're down there with the community, a lot of local individuals will say one of the best things that happened. I don't mean this in a wrong sense, but one of the best things that's happened to the community is the hurricane coming through that area.
Interesting.
Because it's cleaned up. It's given opportunity for a lot of development and a lot of cleanup. And so you're getting massive development and growth in that area. We purchased a property in that area. But some of the hurdles even we face, Mo, well, we need to remodel this house. Well, we don't live there.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people there. So being able to connect with builders, people you trust. You think about living that far away from a short-term rental, and if that's your goal, you found a community like that. Management.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of overhead now because it's just not convenient.
Yes. You just went there, right? Over the weekend.
Yeah.
And that's a 6-hour drive. And so try to do a 6-hour drive, meet the contractors, try to build a network there, and then turn around back in the next in a day or two.
Yeah, and
right?
you potentially, seasonal life matters, so you potentially missing kids' games or something like that. So it all really needs to be well thought out.
Yeah.
It really does. But nonetheless, you find the community, the permitting, all that stuff works out in your favor. Then it becomes just a matter of analyzing the deal.
Yes.
And there's a lot of benefits and potential hurdles, but there's a lot of benefits as to why people purchase short-term rentals.
Right.
So let's list off some of those benefits.
Well, obviously the benefit is, one of the benefits is the cash flow.
Yeah.
Right. Historically, you can look at the average cash flow for a short-term rental versus a long-term rental is much more. I mean, it's probably 2 to 3x of what you would get from a long-term rental. And some of it has to do with the seasonality that you mentioned before. When you have a long-term rental, it's pretty consistent, right? You have a lease agreement with a tenant. It could be 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever it is. And that monthly the monthly rent is what it is, right? You may tick it up once, for inflation once a year or so, but it's pretty consistent. But when it comes to short-term rentals, think about it. It's short-term. So you don't have tenants, you have guests. And those guests can stay 2 days. They can stay a weekend, maybe even 7 days. Mm-hmm. But then you're flipping it over to another guest consistently, which is what the goal hopefully
That's
is,
the goal,
right?
Right.
And so instead of a consistent, predictable rent, you have an average daily price. And that daily price can change based off seasonality, right? I mean, if it is a Panama City, St. Andrews, right? Well, I would say probably the seasonality is somewhere between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Right.
And so the price of that you're probably going to pay or charge for those seasons are going to be much higher than you would in November, December.
Right. And to that point, I'm gonna I'm a believer in Dave Ramsey's statement on this topic when it comes to cash flow, and I'm going to apply it to short-term rental. You know, a lot of times individuals, whether it's their personal income or even short-term rental property investors, the challenge they have is the inconsistency of cash flow, right?
Yeah.
I think of, just some people that maybe own their own business or self-employed. What do they always say? It's hard to plan because my income's inconsistent.
Right.
Well, no, it's not really your income that's inconsistent. It's your time in which you're analyzing your cash flow. That's the problem. Okay, zoom out, look at it, especially with short-term rentals. Look at your cash flow over an annualized basis or 6-month basis. Okay,
Yeah, not really month to month.
quit looking at it month to month. Okay, so yes, you may get your 1099 income, you're self-employed. You may generate greater cash flow, Q1 because that's your selling season. Be down Q2, Q3, be back up Q4. But if you've been doing it for years, year over year, you should know
that.
the cadence and the natural flow of your income, which means you should be able to plan around it. So same thing with short-term rental. Don't avoid it because of seasonality. But the benefit is like you said, higher cash flow.
Right.
Okay. You can generate more cash flow. Typically, you have a greater appreciation in property value over time. These areas are very attractive. We talked about that. Very popular. One of the awesome benefits of short-term rental properties, Mo, is the tax benefits. Okay. Now we're actually gonna do a show on tax benefits when it comes to real estate investing. But let me just give you a quick nugget here about this. People invest in real estate because they're searching for tax deductions. Okay. We know that our tax system is going to sunset here in 2025, 26.
Yep.
And which means our tax rates are going up. Everybody, like most of us that have W-2, 1099 income, we are hunting areas to get deductions.
Yes.
Okay. Some of our clients, their household income is $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $700,000 a year. Significant amount of cash flow. And what's the hurdle and the wall they're facing? Massive tax
Taxes.
responsibilities.
Yeah, and the 401k just doesn't.
It's not enough.
It doesn't move the needle enough.
It's not enough. So what people do is they go invest in real estate. But the problem is they create a real estate portfolio later to find out that yes, they can max depreciate, they can cost segregate, they can do all these things, but then they can't take these losses on this side of their tax plan
Right.
and offset their 1099 and W-2 income. Okay, unless they meet a professional real estate rule or rules that go along with that to qualify. Short-term rental is not that way.
Yes.
Short-term rental is not that way because of the nature of the way you're renting the property. An average tenant 7 days or less allows that whole business model to be looked at as a regular business, allowing you to take the losses, max depreciate, do whatever you need to do and your CPA recommends with the property, and offset it against W-2 and 1099 income.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, real estate has so many investing in real estate has so many tax benefits that, that most people aren't even aware of. And that's why when we talk about short-term rentals, approaching it in a sense of a business, right? That is something that most business owners are looking for, at least high-income earners, but definitely business owners are looking for ways to maximize their income and deductions. And that is a crucial point when it comes to short-term rentals and how that can actually benefit you.
And I think it goes back to the original statement on the show, which is know your why when it comes to real estate investing. For some people, their why is I don't necessarily want to invest in real estate per se, but I'm sick of paying the government so much money.
Yes.
And I've got to keep this for my family, for charity work, whatever it may be. But I'm not just going to give it to a government that may spend it in areas that I don't trust and believe in. So be mindful. There's a lot of opportunities in real estate. You got anything else for today's show?
Oh, we have a quote for the week, right?
Oh, quote for the week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was kind of cheesy. Sorry. Quote for the week.
We do have a good quote, though. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, by Benjamin Franklin.
Doesn't that go with what we've been talking about?
Yes.
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest.
Yes.
Listen, there is a plethora, if that's the right word.
Plethora.
Plethora. Carter's Award-winning race, struggling here. Plethora.
Yes.
Of knowledge available online. I literally was coming back from Panama City the other night, and I drove back almost through the night. Didn't get back to 1:30 in the morning, banging out YouTube videos, just absorbing different strategies and different content. Here's the point. There's a lot of available knowledge out there. Soak yourself in with knowledge in areas that you want to improve in your life to improve that picture beyond tomorrow. Make sure you stay with us. Next week, we have an incredible
I'm
private
excited.
interview with Kim, the owner and president, CEO of Main Management. It's going to be something you want to stay tuned, stay with us on. If you need anything, our team here is for you. We appreciate you subscribing and staying with us on Beyond Tomorrow.